Welcome to 3-Star Superstars, where we look at some of the best and brightest 3-star heroic spirits through Fate's Grand Order. While they may eventually be outclassed in terms of pure stats by higher rarity alternatives, these servants possess unique skills or fulfill specific niches that see them retain their utility long after multiple gold servants have visited your Chaldea. Houzouin Inshun is one of Fate's Grand Order's more bizarre heroic spirits. Despite scant story representation paralleled only by a dearth of historical record, he is without doubt one of the game's most exciting servants to use, if not always the most reliable. Inshun is a formidable Lancer DPS whose kit revolves around activating his Noble Phantasm and subsequently unleashing critical hits. To unlock his full potential requires placing him front and center, funneling the entire offense through him. Aside from his damage, he brings solid star generation and an NP seal. Given his need to dominate the attacks, supports, and critical star consumption for the party despite his low rarity, I wouldn't necessarily recommend him, but more on that later. If you love critical hits and exorbitant damage, look no further. Inshun is here. On the surface, Inshun appears to be your standard 3-star quick lancer, and star generator to slot beside fellow 3-stars, Kuhu Lane, Proto Kuhu Lane, and Crap Kuhu Lane. And while he can just be used as a star generator, this belies his true potential, for when allowed to fight as intended, this monk does not play well with other damage dealers, needing to hog the limelight, the attacks, the buffs, the critical stars, all to himself. Thus, he truly functions best when used as the party's main DPS. The main focus of Inshun's kit can be summarized thus: Noble Phantasm, critical damage, rinse, repeat. He can reach ethereally absurd levels of critical damage, provided the setup is right. The main gateway to this is his Noble Phantasm, Oboro Urazuki, 11 forms, a non-damage NP that provides Houzouin a plethora of buffs, most notably a 3-turn 50% attack boost at NP5, and a 100% critical damage buff for 3 turns. To optimize his critical damage potential, Inshun must bring his kit together to create the possibility of looping his Noble Phantasm and thus stacking buffs. For this, he exploits his solid star generation, a product both of his triple quick deck, each coming with 3 hits, in addition to his first skill, Knowledge of the Soul rank B, which boosts his critical star generation rate. His Noble Phantasm's overcharge effect also dramatically boosts his critical star generation rate for 3 turns, making it far easier to generate stars once he's already been able to use his NP. These are the stars necessary to land those powerful critical hits, increasing his NP gain in the process, allowing him in optimal situations yet again to access his Noble Phantasm, allowing for looping and stacking potential. This self-sustainability and stacking potential allows Inshun to put up impressive damage numbers even without outside help. It is in this state seeking the truth of martial arts rank B comes into play. This buffs his quick damage by up to 50% for 1 turn, so should be used on the turn of best value critical damage when his quick command cards are available. In spite of all this, however, Houzouin's true potential is unlocked only when he's used alongside the right supports.
My dear.
Inshun explodes in power when used alongside supports dedicated to bolstering his attack and particularly critical damage. Servants including Skata Skadi, Hans Christian Andersen, Merlin, and Sherlock Holmes provide ample critical buffs, while simultaneously helping to generate his NP gauge and sufficient critical stars so that his critical hits land successfully. He particularly excels alongside quick critical supports, most notably Skadi. Skadi not only provides a 50% NP battery for Inshun to use to get his Noble Phantasm, she also brings a party-wide defensive debuff for the enemy. That said, without doubt her greatest asset is Primordial Rune. This buffs Inshun's quick damage by up to 50% and his quick critical damage by up to 100% for 3 turns. Paired with Inshun's own buff on Seeking the Truth of Martial Arts, Inshun has immense destructive quick critical damage potential, on top of general critical damage buffs from Hans, Sherlock, and even Skadi's own Gate of Sky. With the right supports in place and a bit of RNG luck, few can match Inshun's monstrous critical damage that he has potential to sustain over multiple turns. When everything does come together, well, see for yourself. Outside critical damage, Inshun brings various other things to the table. The aforementioned knowledge of the Soa's star generation is useful even if Inshun is sidelined damage-wise. That said, it also confers him with the sure hit status, ensuring those pesky evades don't get in the way of a rampaging Inshun. His third skill, Planning Ahead rank B+, lowers the defense of one enemy and brings with it an NP seal, a situational albeit useful asset that can be used at vital moments during a fight, especially in significant boss fights. Finally, his Noble Phantasm brings with its damage buffs 1 turn of death immunity and 1 hit of evade. For all his critical damage, Houzouin does bring some significant flaws. It does take time to set up his more potent turns, time that could perhaps be better spent simply defeating the enemy. Worse still, his damage potential is heavily RNG dependent. Even if all the critical buffs are in place, Inshun must have command cards or masters will simply be left hanging around waiting to activate it. This makes time-sensitive buffs such as Inshun's own stackable Noble Phantasms extremely vulnerable to such a delay. It's also worth mentioning that Inshun himself lacks any form of star gather rate skill. This does require a craft essence or ample star generation to make sure he does get those stars he needs. Finally, he may not be for everyone, at least in the early game. If you're looking for a dependable low rarity Lancer damage dealer, or lack resources and are not particularly enamored with critical damage, Houzouin is a superior option in almost every facet of the game. Not only is Gaebord an excellent boss-killing Noble Phantasm, he also has survivability, something Inshun lacks. But if you love critical damage and are looking for an exciting servant to use, look no further but Houzouin Inshun. I've been Dunes. Thank you so much for watching this episode of 3-Star Superstars. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment and subscribe. If you go in the description box below, you can access the playlist to all the other episodes of 3-Star Superstars, and you can also find my other series, Chaldea Lowlights, where we look at some of the more not-so-good servants in Fate Grand Order. Anyway, thank you again for watching. My name has been Dunes. See you soon.